Hi, my name is Robin, and I am going to tell you about my story and how this website came about in the first place. Um, a few years back, I received a debt collection letter in the mail. I didn't recognize it, and I threw it aside. A few months after that, I received another one. I threw it aside. Eventually, I figured they'd just give up, and they'd realize it wasn't me. Uh, the third time I received a letter, it was saying that they had begun the process of a legal action. I was at that point concerned, so I dug out one of the letters and I called the 800 number, which, by the way, don't do, and there's a reason for it, which I explain on the site. Um, but I called the 800 number and I asked them, I said, who are you? And uh, what is this bill concerning? And, I don't recognize the account number, I don't recognize the amount, I don't recognize anything. The lady kept saying she wasn't at liberty to give me any answers, so I politely told her I wasn't at liberty to give her my social security number when she asked for it, because I thought that was a little fishy. Um, what I did get was the fact that they had an address on file 3,000 miles away in another state. It never had been mine. And so I said to her, you have the wrong person. I'm telling you, you have the wrong person. She completely ignored me and told me I could pay over the phone. So I hung up. I ended up calling a friend of mine. He's really good with legal loopholes. He helps people out when they need to fill out forms and things, and I actually work for his nonprofit doing the same thing. When you represent yourself, it's called pro per, and when you're stuck representing yourself, you don't get a lot of help from anybody. It's almost like you're being punished because you want to defend yourself, or you have to defend yourself because you can't afford an attorney. So I am a little experienced in that myself, but he's really he's the walking encyclopedia of that. So, I mean, he just knows everything. So, I called him and I said, this is what's happening. What do you think? And he's like, well, did you respond within the 30 days? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, on the letter it says to respond within 30 days if you dispute the bill. And I said, well, no. I said, but I called and told him it wasn't my bill. He said, yeah, but there's no proof you called. It's an 800 number. And so there's nothing on your phone bill that shows that you called them, or that there was even any iota of attempt on your part to let them know anything or to rectify anything. He said, you have to put it in writing. He goes, if you didn't do that, he says, they are able to sue you. So, of course, I was upset. 3 days before Christmas, there was a knock on my door. A man said, are you Robin? And I said, yeah, why? And he handed me papers, said, you've been served, you're being sued, Merry Christmas. And he left. That's how considerate and kind and human these people are. A single parent, 3 kids. The ex is not paying his full ordered child support. He's refused to pay his alimony, and I just lost my job. And these people don't really care. They don't care if you have medical bills, if you had a life-saving operation, if you didn't have insurance, if life happened to you and suddenly you're on the receiving end of these threats. They don't care. They don't care. Their profit is in your misery. That's where their profit lies. They don't care. They'll do whatever it takes. So I called my friend. I was extremely upset, of course, and they were suing me for under $10,000, which I was just mortified. How did it go from $5,000 to $10,000? Because that's basically what it said to me. So he calmed me down and he said, he said, there are some forms that are regularly used in court, he said, and I do have an idea. He said, I had a friend of mine that had a similar situation, and he said, I recommended he try this. He said, but he was afraid. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, well, I'll send you the format. He said, but you're going to have to come up with the wording. And he says, and you're going to have to figure out what you want to ask. He said, and you send it back to me, and he said, I'll look it over and make sure everything's worded correctly, because that's where the key is in the wording. And he said, well, go ahead and get it together, and then we'll file that and see what happens. And I'm like, well, okay, you know. He said, you don't have anything to lose, and I said, you're absolutely right there. So what I'm going to do now is stop this video, and then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and click on the next one, and I'll explain what happened after that.